Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I'm your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com, and today we have Sid Mohasseb. Brother, how can I pronounce your second name?
You did it right.
Okay, I did it
Mohasseb.
right.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. So, for our listeners who don't know you, can you tell them who you are and what do you do?
That's a very good question. Who I am is very different than what I do. What I do is usually people confuse those two things together. I do three or four things. I teach at university, both in engineering and business school. I advise companies and early stage companies as a board member, and I invest in early stage companies, and I run something that's called a very non-academic academy that connects entrepreneurship and mindfulness. Now, who I am is some people call me entrepreneur philosopher. So I'm a combination of both. I'm a human being who loves others and loves creativity.
That's great. So, can you tell us, like, at the age of 16, how do you went from, I mean, go from Iran to LA?
By plane, Atul.
Okay, any reason behind that?
I'm just joking. So I
Yeah.
was very young, and I actually decided on my own that I needed to come to the U.S. The reasonings of it, if we have a few hours, I could go through it. But this was before the revolution in Iran, and it was about 50 years ago. And I came uh, again in 1976. I negotiated with my parents who were not for it. They didn't like me to leave because in those days Iran was fine and everything was okay, and I was a good student and I would probably get to one of the top universities and so forth. So how do I come to that conclusion? I think there's a fine line between genius and stupidity. I didn't know there would be a revolution. I had no idea what would happen. But I figured at that time that being in a bigger fish, bigger pool, bigger ocean will help raise bigger fish.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that
I wanted to be in a place where I can learn more. And my idea wasn't to stay in the United States. My idea was to go back. But then I stayed because of all that happened in Iran. So again, do I know what I did or what I thought? I have no idea. It's too long ago, but somehow it works out okay.
yep. Okay, so what inspired you to become known as entrepreneur philosopher, and how did your journey begins?
So I have a few beliefs, and I think it was in a conversation I had, I don't know, with BBC or some other TV program, that the guy on the other side called me. So you're an entrepreneur, but you're a philosopher. So you're a philosopher, entrepreneur, and that kind of stuck. So the the thing is that I don't believe that entrepreneurship is about money, and I don't believe that there are some people who are entrepreneurs and some people who are not. Entrepreneurship by definition means, by definition, this is, I'm not making it up. This is the first guy who defined entrepreneur, who is an entrepreneur, was in France in the 1700s. That's almost 300 years ago. An entrepreneur is someone who has something, who wishes to exchange that with something of higher value. Someone who has something. It doesn't define what that thing is. Could be could be your talent, could be you're a basketball player, could be you're a cricket player, could be you sing well, could be you can create a product, could be you have a service. An entrepreneur is someone who has something, who wishes to exchange that, trade that with something of higher value. So you want to give what you have and exchange it, and in exchange get something that you decide is of higher value. No, nobody else. It's not. It doesn't talk about money. It doesn't talk about billions. It doesn't talk about stock. It doesn't talk about IPOs. It doesn't talk about homes. It doesn't talk about anything. It says of higher value, and you decide what higher value is. So maybe Gandhi was an entrepreneur. He took what he had, exchanged it for what he thought was of higher value. Mother Teresa was. So is Elon Musk. He decides what's of higher value to him. So we all inherently have this in us. So this was the part that is, so you're kind of a philosopher, where if you are inherently an entrepreneur, why don't you exercise your entrepreneurship? Why do you get stuck? Why some of us get stuck? Because we don't know that we have the ability to exchange what we have with something better. We don't realize it. We think, oh, that guy over here, it means that you have to have a certain talent. You have to be born that way. You have to be a good salesman. You have to be a, no, you have every ability to do it. Every ability to exchange what you have, you were born that way. Now, the question is, how do you exercise it? How do you discover it? Because we're all different. We all have different things and we come from different backgrounds. We live in different places. So that has to do with your mind, with your mindfulness, with and combining and activating your mindfulness. Meaning, it's not about just sitting somewhere and being mindful of biases and appreciating yourself. It's not about detachment either. It's about being attached while you realizing that here's the thing. If you're attached, you're not attached to the reality of life,
Mhm.
right? You're detached. You're detached of what happens outside of you. Then you can't make an impact. You can't understand people truly if you don't feel their pain. So you have to be able to activate your mindfulness all the time. You have to be realizing, oh, I have a bias here. Oh, here's my emotions. Yes, I have fears. I am a human being. I am a human being. I have fears. I have courage. I have love. I have passion. I have all of that sort of stuff. But I also live in a real world. I'm not 6'2", so I can't be a basketball player. I have a horrible voice, so I can't be a singer. That doesn't mean I don't have anything to exchange with anything. It just means that I have something else. Let me discover what my value is. So, combining our mindfulness with this inherent ability of entrepreneurship is what defines my philosophy, if you would. So, I am an entrepreneur. I am a capitalist. I care about you having a great life and making a great living, and but that doesn't necessarily mean that those activities are about greed. They are not about, they're about impact. You get satisfied based on your own reasons, Atul. Everybody that's listening to you has different reasons. It doesn't matter if you're an engineer, you're necessarily, that makes you successful by definition of society. But that doesn't make you satisfied. Are you satisfied if you're an engineer but you never reach your love and never get married or never have kids? No, you're not satisfied. Are you satisfied if you're a doctor or a postdoctorate of some sort of, and then you don't have, you never pursue your passion for singing and you're a great singer? No, you're not. The society, others define your satisfaction. You define your success. Other people define your success. You define your satisfaction. And it is reaching that satisfaction that's about the entrepreneurship behavior. Does that all make sense?
Yep, it makes sense. Okay, so what are the most common misconceptions you see among founders regarding growth?
This is there's so let me first tell you the statistics is that out of 1,000 people that look for money, look for investments, look for, only 1 in 1,000 gets funding. 1 in 1,000. Out of those 1 in 1,000, so 1 in 1,000 gets some investments, angel investment or whatever. Out of those, only 1 in 1,000 ever makes it. So it's 1 in 1,000,000.
Hmm.
Okay, this is reality, but this is not what's advertised on social media. Do
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
two, three. You're gonna be a great person. You have a podcast. There are probably 10, 20, 30 different people that are saying, I'll get you 1,000,000 views in 2 seconds, and then you're gonna be making all this. And did it happen? No, it didn't happen. It's completely BS. Our world is being contaminated with nonsensical expectations. So what is the biggest challenge is tuning out this practical advice by every Jack, Joe, and associate. The fact that you have something and saying this is practical for you, these motivational classes and these all of these growth classes and skill classes and all of that doesn't necessarily make you successful. You know what they are? They are skills. They are skills.
Uh-huh.
You need to know, as a businessman, you need to know accounting. That is a skill. But knowing accounting doesn't necessarily make you a successful entrepreneur. Why? Because it's a skill. You need to be skillful. You need to be able to pull the different pieces, your accounting, your marketing, your salesmanship, your product development, your technology, all of that stuff comes together like a soup.
Uh-huh.
That's the dish. So the misconception by a lot of founders is that if I listen to these things, one, two, three, I'm gonna be successful without hard work, without transformation. Everybody does, and then they get disappointed because they look around and there's that Joe guy over there who raised some money and say, but that guy is an idiot. He doesn't have anything. How come he does it and I didn't do it? Well, there's always one guy who's, and are you seeing his future? No, you don't know who this isn't. So there's fundamentally mindset issues that stops the growth. They don't think of it. For example, being fearless. They think that's a good thing. It's not a good thing. That's a stupid thing. A tiger is approaching you. You should be fearless.
Yeah.
No, it's a stupid thing. So by being fearless, and again, this is one-liners that you. This is another one. Fake it until you make it. You've heard that?
Yeah.
Fake it. Bullshit. It's nonsense. If you want to satisfy people with with value, if you want to have customers, if you have to have a business, people have to appreciate the value you're giving them. If you don't give them value, they won't buy. And if they
Exactly.
don't buy, you don't have a business. You can't fake reality of an exchange between a company and a customer. That is nonsense. That is nonsense. So the biggest impediment is the expectations are wrong. Fake it until make it. I'm gonna be fearless, so I'm gonna do the same thing over and over because I'm fearless, and then you fail. Well, you didn't see the market. You didn't see what wasn't working. So it's not you're not stupid. You just were fearless for no reason. So there's a lot of expectations and a lot of nonsense that stops the growth of the founders. My solution: be mindful. If you see the trends of the market, if you see who you are, if you're aware of your fears, if you're aware of your courage, if you're aware, truly understand the conditions of the market, then you don't expect something that's not going to happen. Your failure rate would go down. It's obvious. If you know more, Atul, you'll make better decisions, won't you?
Exactly.
Okay, then know more. Then listen more. It's fairly simple, right? Makes sense?
Yep. Okay, so
Okay.
as a board member, what qualities do you look for in leaders and CEOs before deciding to partner with them?
Something that people use a lot of times is this idea of coachability. They say you work with people, you want to invest in people, you want to be on a board that the entrepreneur is coachable. Now, people confuse coachable with with being weak. Is Ronaldo, the football player, the soccer player, or Messi weak? No, they're a pretty damn good player, but they have a coach and they're coachable. Those two things are not the same. So coachability means someone who listens, someone who processes, someone who takes this idea that you have and you brainstorm together and takes it to the next level. A coach doesn't think, or a board member doesn't think that he knows it all. I have traveled this road. So I'm going to tell you what I have traveled in my experience. The road that we're going has never been gone before. Doesn't matter which road it is. Let me explain what I mean. You're running a company today. You have different customers, you have a different product, you have different employees, you have different economy. Everything for you, including you, is different. So I have never walked in those shoes because nobody has walked in those shoes yet. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I have never, as a board member, and I may be 100 years old and I've maybe started 20, 30, 100 companies. But I have never been you in this situation because nobody has ever been you in this situation. The world is here. Now, look, let's say I've started 6 companies, exited companies, and sit probably on 20, 30 boards, invested in many, right? Now, if I start working with somebody new today, okay? When I did all those stuff, there was no AI. There was no LLM or ChatGPT. There was no the way the economy is. The nationalism has changed. There is wars in here. There's wars in there. There's the H-1B visas or whatever. It's different. There is lot of stuff that's different. So what do I want from somebody who I want to partner with? Is someone who is ready to take on the journey, who is coachable in the sense that I can see him listening and applying, listening and putting the pieces of the puzzle together, not the way I put them together, but
Uh-huh.
the way that it should be put together in this new situation. Someone who is not what I have has a disease of founderitis. A founderitis is, I call it like the arthritis of the founders.
What?
It's a made up disease that I've come up with. Founderitis is the founders have a disease. I
Yeah.
call it founderitis. It's when they think I came up with this idea and this is the best idea, I'm gonna take this is it. Well, if nobody is buying your donuts, this is not good, man. The ability to transform, the ability to evolve, the ability to realize failure and have the courage to accept those failures. Not as failures, but as learning opportunities. So that's what you want to partner up with somebody that is ready to evolve, ready to listen, and is not necessarily fearless but aware.
Okay, so how do you spot high potential startups or leaders when considering investments?
So as how do you are you talking about from an investor?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do I identify high potential
Yep,
deals?
yep, yeah.
So this is a very tricky question because every investor has a different view of life. They come from different backgrounds. So you have investors who are part of a VC, venture capital firm, right? Venture capital firms have a guidelines of how you have to invest. They invest in early stage, late stage, they invest at a minimum of this, they invest in medical devices, they don't invest in consumer, they invest in the so they have some guidelines. So the first step for them is to be within the guidelines. The second step is they say, oh, the market is this. And so in the VC business, it's an investment business. There are two types. One is I'm a non professional early stage investor. What does that mean? I'm a doctor who has a lot of money. I'm a real estate investor who has a lot of money. I want to come invest in you because I like you. All right. I am not looking for this to be Airbnb. I'm not looking for it to be Uber. I'm looking for it to give me some dividend over time. And I like you. And if it works, great. But I'm not a professional investor. I'm not looking to do this and then bring in the next VC and then the next VC and Series A and Series B and Series C. If I am a professional investor, I look at this deal differently than if I'm not. So again, if the view of that person is someone who likes you or likes an idea, but he's not a professional investor, that means he is not putting this money in to get an exit in 5 years or 7. He's not looking for 100x. He's looking for if I do two or three twice, double my money in 2 or 3 years. That's not bad. So again, so I'm saying depending on who the investor is, their evaluation criteria changes. Now, then you have professional investors like what I do. That is what I do. I'm not a real estate guy who has some money parks and wants to do something. That's what I do. I make investments in early stage companies. So what is my criteria? A, I have to like the person. There has to be chemistry. B, the idea should be relatively simple but complex. Simple means it is understood and complex means it is complicated enough that no Joe Schmo can duplicate it tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah.
The third is there should be some skin in the game, some traction by the person that have already tested the market. Okay. The fourth is, for example, I'm not good at consumer facing stuff. I just don't understand that space. I'm not good at medical devices. Why? Because I've failed every time. I've made investments in drug delivery and every time I've failed. Okay. So the last thing is I want to make sure that I can help the entrepreneur. The entrepreneurs usually look at give me the money and get out of the way. I know what I'm doing. The only reason I'm not getting where I'm getting is the money. The investor always knows it's not the money. And you may not believe it, but most founders say, no, for me, it's the money. That's not the case. It is not the case. So the investor values his time and effort and network and ability to help more than the money that he's investing. Why? Because he has the money. The entrepreneur doesn't think all of that stuff is worth it. They think that the money is worth it. So give me the money, get out of the way. I know what I'm doing. So there's the conflict. I would look at things as is this some space that I understand? Can I help? Do I like the person? And then is this person coachable, as we were talking before?
Okay.
That means here, I have probably seen maybe in my lifetime 20, 30 business plans. For a period of time that I was very active, I would see 3,000 business plans a year. Okay? To this date, I have not seen a single plan. I have not seen a single plan that the original plan is exactly what worked in the market. I have not seen one. Now, some other people
Uh,
may have seen one. I have not seen one plan that was presented in this form that exactly worked in the marketplace. So the ability of the entrepreneur to be flexible and change is critical. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
yeah.
All right.
Yep. Okay, so you have few best-selling books. Can you talk about those?
Sure, sure. I have a couple of best-selling books. The first one is called The Caterpillar's Edge. Evolve Again and Thrive in Business. Is I'll give you one thing. That book was published about 8 years ago. And the last chapter is the 2 minute warning. The last chapter of the book is called 2 minute warning.
What's that?
In football, in American football, there is something they stop 2 minutes before the end. They have a commercial and then they say, okay, there's 2 minutes to the end of the game. So everybody is now be careful. You have 2 minutes to score, right? The 2 minute warning, and again, this is 7, 8 years ago. I said AI is coming. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna be faced with this and this and this and this, and change is coming, and right. And a lot of people told me you're smoking something. What are you talking about? This statistics doesn't work, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So it is a book about change. It's a book about using analytics. It's a book about failure and addictions and how you run a company. And so that's the first book. The second book is called You Are Not Them. You Are Not Them, which is every one of us are unique. We build our own entrepreneurial philosophy. The way we approach life, the way we do things is based on the same philosophy that I was just explaining, that you define what you have and what you can exchange it with. You, as an individual, you assess your environment and your capabilities and your talents and where you come from. You assess it and you put all of that together, your fears with your risk taking ability, with your ecosystem and capabilities, with your everything that you've got, and then you can execute and you can evolve. It's a little more poetic, it's a little more philosophical, and it has to do with the mindset of the entrepreneur. So it's called You Are Not Them.
Okay, and for our listeners, where can they go and get that book?
They could get it on Amazon. The both of those are available in various forms. The other thing I should mention is the academy, the Anabasis Academy. Anabasis means Ana, A-N-A, means moving up in Latin, and basis is the basis. So Anabasis means moving the base upward. It's a very non-academic academy, and the URL is anabasisacademy.org. And it's a place where we actually have created a space to collaborate in learning. It's very different. It's, as I say, it's a non-academic because it's different in approach. It's where we bring in all these ideas about entrepreneurship and fuse them with mindfulness because everything begins in your mind.
Yeah.
And in there, if they're a member, they can or they can get the book at significantly discounted price there. That's why I was mentioning it. So if they go to something called a la carte, they could get it, and there's other things that they can benefit from too.
Okay, okay, Sid, thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing your wisdom. It was really fun chatting with you.
It was a pleasure to chat with you as well, too. Take care of yourself.